Hello and welcome to the podcast. So my name is Peggy van der Plas, and today we're going to talk about something super exciting. A lot of Canadians and Americans actually have set their sights right now due to a difficult job markets locally in the UAE. So think Abu Dhabi, think Dubai, especially for finance professionals. So myself, I'm looking into that. And in my journeys, I listened to a couple of great podcasts, and the guest was super insightful. I'm like, I think that will be interesting to have him on my podcast. So today it is a special treat. We have an expert in recruitment in the region of the UAE, Dubai, specifically Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and he's going to answer a lot of the questions we have. We have him for another 35 minutes, so we'll go fast. So Oscar, thank you for being here, and I will pronounce your name with my best accent, which, as you can hear, is going to be challenging. So Oscar Orellana-Hyder. I did my best. I'm not sure my accent was so good.
That's great. No, great. Thank you, Peggy. I really appreciate the intro and thank you so much for having me on. And I'm not going to try and pronounce your family name, so we're safe in that aspect. So thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much for spending the time. You have obviously a super deep expertise in executive search, in talent strategy. You're originally from the UK, but you've been in the area for 10 years. So first questions, why did you move 10 years ago? What brought you there? And what did you see in the job market and everything in the life there change?
Yeah, thank you. It's a really good point. It's a really good question. It could be like dissected over hours and hours and hours, but I'm conscious of time. So I started in London. I did 6 years in the city of London. And we started looking abroad around, to be honest, around the start of Brexit, right around 2015. I had some friends in Asia, so Hong Kong, Singapore, quite a similar financial services, well, to a certain extent, a more developed market, a more kind of known financial services ecosystem in Asia. But my wife wouldn't go that far. My wife is from Cyprus and she wanted to be closer to home. So we came to a weird place called Abu Dhabi for the Formula One in November 2015. And I loved it. It was absolutely great. I've been watching it on the TV for years and we came. It's very, very different to what you see on the press, on the media, what we talked about.
Yes.
We stayed with friends in Dubai. We did the sites in Abu Dhabi. And sort of as cliche as it sounds, but definitely, if not fell in love with, definitely took a very fond sort of affirmation to this part of the world that we didn't really know at all before we moved here in 2016 to Dubai. You're right, we've always lived in Dubai. My previous company, we had an office in Abu Dhabi for 4 years. I was one of the first to set up a headhunting business in the Abu Dhabi free zone, the Abu Dhabi Global Market, ADGM, in 2019. Bear in mind, it was only established in 2016. So that was very, very new. A lot of people, your listeners and your guests are probably far better read and better informed than a lot of the UK thinks the country is Dubai. That's not the case. The capital city is very much Abu Dhabi. The capital is Abu Dhabi. The bigger brother with ADNOC, the oil major up the road. Dubai is the let's just say the spoiled little brother of Abu Dhabi. But so yeah, why a lot of the reasons was my wife. We came and it's just changed an awful lot in 10 years, but it's still very, very much just getting started.
So what did you see? Because when you joined 10 years ago, were you already in the recruiting business, or it's something that came a bit later in your 10 years over there?
Yeah, no, I joined with a Fortune 500 business called Robert Half. I was with them for 18 months or so, and I got headhunted to another Robert Walters, which is FTSE 250 in the UK. We grew that business from, I think we grew it from around 25 to maybe 55, 60 people. As I said, I opened their branch in Abu Dhabi with the help of my boss, who didn't. I actually wanted to move to Abu Dhabi in 2019 because it was calmer, it was quieter, it was sort of a much sort of deeper relations, and then COVID hit, so that was a bit of a speed bump.
Oh, yeah.
No, so 10 years ago, it was still very shallow. Honestly, it's very shallow market. The companies are nowhere near the size that they are in developed markets. It's still, so the DIFC, the Dubai International Financial Centre, has only been open about 23 years,
Okay.
20, maybe 24 years now. So to put it into context, what that means is there aren't as many developed companies here, and the teams aren't as developed. So, for example, Morgan Stanley has 50 people in Dubai. Bank of America, Merrill Lynch has got just over 100 people in Dubai.
Right.
So, if you compare it to London or Hong Kong, that's like, a floor, right?
Okay.
So it's a very shallow pool of people, shallow pool of institutions, which conversely, the local family offices, the local sovereign wealth funds, I've already mentioned ADNOC, the oil majors, they have thousands of people. They have a real depth of human capital. So it's a very different landscape to what you'd expect coming from another geography.
And you started your own recruitment firm 18 months ago, am I correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, thank you for following that. Yeah, exactly.
Well, so I assume that means the market is good. Otherwise, you would have probably not gone on your own.
It's growing. It's definitely growing. It's definitely growing. And I think that there's a few reasons, and I get asked this a lot. I think the pace of the growth, and I think the acceleration in where they want to go in terms of Abu Dhabi, in terms of Dubai. We haven't even spoken about Riyadh and Saudi Arabia so far.
You're covering as well, Riyadh?
Today, we're focused on Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
Okay.
Having said that, tomorrow there will be an opportunity where at some point people from the UAE will want to go to Saudi.
Gotcha.
And it will be a much more attractive, a much more appealing geography to go to down the line. Now, I'm not saying it's not attractive or appealing today. I'm just saying the average person, the average candidate or business on the street would much rather live and exist and grow in a developed ecosystem such as Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
Okay.
But yes, we started Cordell. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. We started Cordell Partners in September 23. We're 5 today. We want to be more agile, more nimble. We want to be more flexible to clients. I feel like a FTSE 250, a Fortune 500, amazing businesses, but very much global and not in tune with the local nuances.
Okay.
So I feel like in this geography, you have to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more sort of agile on your toes to deal with the Middle Eastern clients of 2025, as opposed to London 50 years ago. It's it's like trying to turn a cruise line around in a very shallow, very sort of small space. It's difficult to really force change in a big multinational in a geography that's going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I thought it might be the reason why you started your own firm, because reading and speaking with people in the market, I can see why companies that are from North America or from Europe have difficulty understanding that it's a very different pace and a different culture.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a bit this westernized way of thinking that it's our culture that's coming and it's our pace. And that brings me to my next question, actually, which is, what do you see are the biggest differences, actually, between markets like the UK, which you know well, which I'm sure, based on what I know, is similar to Europe and North America, kind of, and what you see in your geography in terms of, hiring practice, employer mindset, all this great stuff.
Yeah, of course. I think, as I've kind of alluded to, it's a very young country. So the powers that be, the government, the employers, they really appreciate people who are here, who are looking to build the ecosystem. So what I mean by that is that they really value depth of relationships. It's a very familiar way of doing business. And I don't mean, they want to see your family tomorrow, but they want to meet with you 3, 4, 5 times, in the boardroom, out of work, maybe on a paddle court, maybe in a brunch setting to see how you interact with the team before you do any kind of deal, to be honest. Not all the time, of course. People are in a rush sometimes, but very often at government level, especially in big, slow, steady, patient pools of capital. They are happy to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds of interviews before they actually hire that sort of C-suite person still. So in that respect, it can be frustrating for the European. I was very frustrated as a Londoner coming through. I thought it was, slapdash and sort of crack on with the next one, but it's very much patient. It's a patient geography. It's slow. It's steady. It doesn't really need to go fast for anyone. If you want, if you're committed to the region and if you want to make a success of it, then you will kind of play by their rule book, really. Which is something that I just assumed coming from London. And also let's kind of like evolve this question on the job search. You feel like you've got an amazing CV, you feel like your resume is top class, and you've gone to the right institutions, and you know the right networks, and you've been on the right deals. Over here, sometimes that doesn't really count for too much. They don't really not always is that the main thing that they're looking for. So it can be a case of, I've had this all the time where, like in London, I would have had loads of jobs put in front of me, or Hong Kong, I would have had 5 or 6 offers by now. In the UAE, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I can't find anything. It's like it's a different way of searching. It can be quite an opaque geography to search. There's a lot more pools of capital that are very quiet, no website, no LinkedIn, very family office mindset. And they try their very best to keep it that way, basically. So it's a very different, still a very emerging market. It's not quite a frontier market. I wouldn't compare it to an out and out frontier sort of sub-Saharan Africa market, but it's still very much slow, steady, patient way of searching for a job and doing business out here, for sure.
And I guess that's also where you and your peers come in, because you have also this access to these different groups and that understanding of the pace that when you bring people from, I don't know, North America, Europe, or elsewhere in the world, they don't necessarily understand. So I guess you're doing the translation, the connection. My understanding is the headhunting/recruiting aspect in the UAE is quite different than North America, in the sense it's
so
more
different.
Okay, so go ahead with that.
it's so different, and it's kind of parallel with so yes, you're right, headhunting recruitment is our main pillar of business for the last 10 years. We also advise and we help new companies coming in. We introduce them to the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Abu Dhabi. We introduced them to a government entity, which is part of the Department of Economic Development in Abu Dhabi. So we are, yes, of course, we're finding the people, but we're also introducing managers from all over the world into predominantly Abu Dhabi for now, setting them up. So why I paint this picture is that, and in your words, and I'm going to sort of ride on your coattails, the North Americans are used to very fast-paced, very sort of brash, very kind of like, here's the deal, take it or leave it, done, next one, sort of thing. And that's just their way of very similar to Londoners in some respect. Whereas over here, it doesn't often work like that. You have to a lot of North Americans come here, go away, and they're like, why is the deal not done in one meeting? It's like, you've got to go back, you've got to meet the family, you've got to understand the culture more, you've got to potentially invest in something, whether that's an office, whether that's a villa, whether it's investing in an event, sponsor an event, whatever it may be. You have to show willing 2, 3, 4 times before you actually have any kind of commitment both ways. And there's dozens of fund managers looking to raise capital from the Middle East and Abu Dhabi especially, and it always has been, but more so now. And I feel that, as I alluded to earlier, it's very patient, slow, steady environment. don't forget they're predominantly a Muslim population. They're very conservative. They don't like writing checks willy-nilly to whoever comes through the door. These guys get thousands, literally thousands of fund managers coming through
Yeah.
pitching to the sovereign wealth funds a year.
Yeah.
So it's a very slow, steady, patient way of searching for a role, raising capital, whatever it may be. Because they've had it for too long, and this is kind of switching geographies now, going back to Europe. The old analogy was the briefcase bankers from Switzerland would turn up with their empty suitcases and briefcases and sort of expect to sort of fill them up from Abu Dhabi and go home, right? That was the old sort of 50 years ago, the old adage of the UBS Credit Suisse guys who are sort of doing a job for them. Sadly that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a fact that they need commitment. They want to build this region.
Yes.
Whether that's the real estate, whether that's mental minds, universities. So here we have NYU, New York University. We have La Sorbonne.
Yeah.
We have all sorts of the best institutions, some of the best institutions of the world. They're building a Harrow in Dubai, Harrow School. So they are sort of introducing more and more of the global kind of landscape here in order to keep people engaged and keep people to build this region for the next 50 years.
Rather than extracting.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than extracting from the region, which is fine, which they still do to a certain extent. But it's like, okay, fine, we will write that $100 million check, but you have to have a base in Abu Dhabi.
Exactly.
You have to have a minimum number of employees, school fees, villas, whatever it may be. There's soft clauses in the term sheet that kind of lead to that roadmap of 3, 5, 8 years down the line. Okay, what have you done for that investment, basically?
Yeah, which makes, that makes a lot of sense. If you want to build your area, your region, you cannot just send the check in Switzerland or in Toronto or wherever to get things done. So what you mean as well, in terms of individual job search, so you would recommend people to go a month or 2 weeks to the region, go back to where they're from and do this type of trips couple of times or 2, 3 times, because it's you need to be multiple times on the ground to meet people in real life.
I can never say you have to do this or you have to do that. It's very difficult, but I would, and how I did it or how we did it was just a working holiday.
Yes, exactly. Working holiday.
You can book a nice hotel, bring a suit or a jacket or whatever it may be, and try your very best to do it that way. And honestly, if it doesn't work the first time, people who are committed and who really want to make it work, they go back and they come back, and it's a constant sort of flow of a search, basically. And it doesn't always work first time. As I said, it's a very shallow geography. So a lot of people come here, they expect the world. It's like, oh, well, I've done this, I've done that. It's like, well, at the moment they have. So we're about 3 hours flight from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all of those sorts of geographies. So we have thousands offshored in those geographies. So a lot of the time, it's very expensive to hire people in the UAE. A lot of the time, we don't need that type of we don't need that type of work here. It's a very expensive resource that we've already got offshore, basically.
So it's sometimes there is a bit that mindset of, okay, we're coming from Europe or North America, here it comes, and move on. I'm here, one of the question, I have a question for you regarding the job market, the current landscape you see in the UAE. So, and I know it's a bit difficult because it's a question that seems very large. So, what are the difference between, I don't know, someone who's looking for a junior position, middle management, executive, but also the different industries? I know finance is always something exciting. You mentioned real estate. What do you see?
What do I see in terms of the seniority?
In terms of what is the job landscape for this different type, I would think executive might be a different type of job landscape than maybe a junior. To your point, these might be jobs that are offshore.
Yeah, of course. The pyramid always sort of gets more narrow at the top, right? So the C-suite or the top level executives, a lot of them are flown in, they're parachuted in from other geographies,
Okay.
from their home geography of where the fund or where the company's coming from. So I'd say about almost 80% bring their own sort of top level management, and then
Okay.
we fill out maybe something that they don't necessarily have, like a. So the main one for us is actually the back office. So the financial district, the DFSA, the regulator in Dubai, needs compliance, finance, risk,
Yeah.
and an SEO ahead of the office. So compliance, finance, risk, locally authorized is our biggest demand, basically. So 154 new licenses last year. All of them need those 4 positions. It doesn't necessarily matter how senior. I think depending on the license, depending on how many activities that they have under their license. But there's more to your question, to your point. There's more churn and there's more turnover at the middle management layer.
Okay.
So anything from, let's say, I don't know, it's difficult to bracket it, around like the 8 to 12 years of experience, around the sort of 45 to 55,000 dirham a month. What's that, like 120 to 160, 70 euro dollars roughly ish a year. There's multiple of those, as opposed to, this year, in the first 6 months of the year, I think we've only done maybe 2 or 3 that are sort of C-suite roles that are retained, that are more on the sort of the 350 or the 450 US as a fixed. And bear in mind, so far, touch wood, in fact, touch everything, it's still 0% income tax. However, yesterday, Oman announced that they are bringing it in 2028. So in 2028, Oman will bring in income tax of 5% for the top earners and 2 to 3% for the middle management. So everyone's talking about that today. Whether that will come to the UAE, I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think
I hope not.
Most of us with 5% would still be very happy. But that's a very good point, because the difference, I think, with most countries is that with no income tax, you also have to support your own healthcare cost, education cost, and that's probably something people don't always understand. They think they're coming with no income tax, but they expect the same service. Well, something's got to give, like.
Correct. So there's no state schooling here. So it's all private school. So it's all fee-paying schools, which are probably on par with, very similar to UK like boarding school prices.
Yes.
So that's one cost that you cannot avoid with my 2 children. That's just a cost that is automatically sort of factored in. I must admit, healthcare is on the employer, which is very good. I think there are different tiers of healthcare. If you're a startup, you try and provide sort of bare minimum, and maybe if someone breaks their leg skiing, you can sort of top it up as you go. Whereas the big corporates will always have the platinum Bupa coverage for everything all over the world.
Similar than us,
Yeah, but there are definitely hidden taxes for sure. So like cost of living, rent is very similar to central London, sort of not quite sort of Knightsbridge or Mayfair, but sort of, let's say, central London, somewhere like Hammersmith or wherever it may be. And cost of living, pint of milk is probably almost double what it is in the UK. So your average shop is probably double. Everything, sort of your lifestyle costs are also almost double. It depends on what, but a lot of it is factored for a 2x sort of multiple.
Well, and it's also, like if you keep the same lifestyle, and what I mean by the same lifestyle is that, if you eat the same thing, it's a bit, if you go to an island and you keep the same type of food than if you are in London or in Paris or in Toronto, well, that's going to cost way more money because you need to import everything. So it's the type of thing where there is also, I guess, some maybe healthy adjustment that you can make as well.
No, for sure.
To be more local, kind of localized as well, So
I think one thing, a nice stat that I heard recently was, or 2 stats, I think. So Abu Dhabi is an 8-hour flight to 80% of the world. So you can get to 80% of the world in 8 hours, which is quite remarkable. Thinking, most destinations are UK is under 7 hours. It's not too bad at all. So I think it's connectivity with both east and west is quite a special positioning in terms of time zones, and that's what factors into a lot of these portfolio managers or traders or analysts in the funds. They want to catch both markets. They can do that very easily here.
Yeah, well, and you end up with you're talking about connectivity, a lot of direct flights. So I'm in Toronto, we can fly Emirates, we can fly Air Canada.
Yeah.
So it's 14 hours. Obviously, it's a bit longer, but it's a direct flight. If I want to go to Singapore, I have to fly to Vancouver from Toronto, which is already a 5-hour flight, have a layover, change flight, go to Singapore in another 12, 14-hour flight. So that makes things extremely different. So, it's also something that you can see if you're on the East Coast, of course, of North America. It makes so much more sense to look at the UAE than looking at Singapore just for connectivity. And if you're European, like I am, my husband, well, for us, it obviously makes way more sense than Singapore. One of the question I have for you, and we talk a bit about, the school and, the standard of living. So what kind of profiles, and what I mean by that is, you touch a bit on mindset. What's going to make people more likely to succeed when they immigrate to the UAE? Is it more the credentials? Is it more the mindset? I think you mentioned mindset. What are the patterns where you see people who are like, okay, this person's going to adapt super well. This person, maybe not, So what's your own pattern recognition?
No, it's a really good question. I think a lot of people, and I get this all day, every day, right? A lot of people want to move here. They want to relocate here. And I speak to, just because it's home and friends of friends, I speak to Londoners, and they've never been here.
Oh, yes.
Which is not, through no fault of their own. They just have this idea that they want to escape London or they want to get out of UK. And that for me, as an employer or a recruiter, it's just simply just not good enough. I think you've got to have an ambition to I think the best people who succeed and who thrive is that they're on the journey. They want to succeed. They want to build the ecosystem up. They want to grow the show. They want to empower people to do more. The mindset here is, I think we spoke about it just before, is very, it's a very positive and it's very glass half full attitude. And this is me, right? 9 years in, almost 10 years in, I still land from the airport and I still get that kind of buzz of excitement. Of, let's go. We want to do something, and we're ambitious. This place is so ambitious as a country, and I think that filters down to the energy of the mere mortals, the subjects on the ground. But I think the people that do well embrace that, and come here for a reason. They don't necessarily have to be entrepreneurial, and I'm speaking for, I've started something very small but very mighty in the last 18 months. I think if you come with a mindset of like, let's push it forward, let's run before we can walk, let's really kind of try and galvanize this whatever it is that we're doing, those people will succeed. I think there was a great quote from a member of the government in Abu Dhabi through COVID, when everyone else, so Morgan Stanley and Deutsche and everyone was on global hiring freezes. And one journalist said, "Why aren't you on a global hiring freeze? Why are you still hiring?" And they said, "Look, we're not a global business. We're Abu Dhabi investment office. We need to keep hiring. And the only problem we have, and this is through COVID, right? The only problem we have is we cannot go fast enough. So they're competing with themselves. They're going as fast as themselves to build this country for the next 50 years to be the best they possibly can be." And a tiny little thing like that was genuinely inspiring. It's a real insight into the mindset. They want to be the best they possibly can be, versus the rest of the world. They punch way above their weight. And I think if you can have all of those little little mindsets and be positive and kind of come with energy, yeah, you'll do really well. Look, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with, oh, you haven't been here, so what are you doing trying to kind of come here? I think the people that have never tried it and they're just like, oh, we've heard it's good. We just want to get away from London. Those people, you need to kind of change the mindset, because if you come here with a London mindset or a very kind of rigid way of thinking and rigid way of doing business, again, with the greatest respect, I don't think that's going to be the best sort of method of really, really cracking it here. And I'm speaking, again, very humbly, I'm nowhere near where I want to be in terms of my journey, but I think some of my peers have stuck very, very rigid in their ways, and they've stayed sort of almost like career lifers, and they live an amazing life, and they're phenomenal sort of journeymen of their companies. But I think the people that have really got that freedom that freedom of living, they're in, whatever it may be, are the people that have run with an idea and tried their very best to contribute to the economy. And that's, I'm not talking just headhunters, I'm talking bankers that have left the bank and done a tech startup, or a fund manager that's had enough for the fund and launched their own, whatever it may be, ride delivery app or whatever. We can get petrol, we can get fuel delivered to our car over here, right?
No, I didn't know that.
So, and that's actually quite old. So Cafu is an app that's been going about almost 10 years.
Okay.
So we get it delivered on an app. We get like a little tanker, comes to your home. All you got to do is leave the cap unhooked, and they deliver petrol to your tank. So this is what I'm saying. There's forget sort of health and safety. Forget like GDPR. Forget all the EU European sort of constraints that you may have here. It's like, go for it. If you've got an idea and it's feasible and it's not harming people, just go for it. Which I love.
So do you see the same concept in this, very positive, energetic, creative, to say, well, I'm going to an organization to pitch them, not necessarily, invest in my fund, but, that's something you're not doing. That's something you should do. And
Definitely.
Obviously people come and, well, they think they're the ones who can help with that. Is it the type of thing you see? Yeah, that's that. So it's also intrapreneurship as well. Okay.
100% all the time. And that's, I think, again, someone put it nicely the other day. I think because we've left the London or the European mindset behind, and I think we're all on a different journey of sort of building something here. Everyone wants to lift people up. Everyone wants to introduce. It's very coercive. It's very much like a Singapore sort of 20 years ago. It's very much kind of building each other up, introducing to them, oh, I've got a problem for that. This guy can help, or it's very much kind of convivial. And also we're all expats, right? I think they say that about 12% of the population is Emirati local, right? So it's a very, very high percentage of expats. So we're all sort of kind of quite far from direct family. We've all left our old friends behind. So we're all very much here for the same reason. So if we can lift people up, whether that's an investment idea, whether that's whatever it may be, introducing a fund to a sovereign, hiring a CFO for a fund that needs help, family office that needs more framework, whatever it may be, it's very much that kind of mindset. And when I'm on global searches, when I'm on searches that want people from Asia or want people, invariably it's the people that have got the more progressive thought process, and more EQ as well as IQ, who are conscious of their thinking, do well, do better in the very simple sense of it.
That makes sense. Well, Oscar, thank you so much for spending the time with us. I realize we're almost out of time. We have 2 minutes left. Is there anything you want to touch on that we didn't discuss and you would like to share with the audience?
No, I think my biggest piece of advice that I repeat is it's just come here. It's just feel it for yourself. Just feel the energy, feel the fiber, meet good people. It's a very, very small geography. Dubai is small. Abu Dhabi is a village. Um, you know, interact with as many people from different geographies. I think there's over like 200 different nationalities in like my community, let alone Dubai, right? So it's an amazing melting pot. And I've actually heard on a panel an American say it's the new land of opportunity. Um, so come here, feel the fiber. Please feel free to reach out to me, Peggy. You share my details or however you want to do it. I'm always happy to have a conversation. I can't promise anything. I don't know all the answers, but I'm always happy to have a conversation or one of the team can have a chat.
Yeah, but that
That's
was
probably
super
my biggest point.
insightful. Yeah, and it's I went 3-4 years ago for the expo that has been moved multiple times, which was actually fabulous. But the energy you mentioned, it's something I really like I remember feeling the same when I came to New York the first time, I don't know, 25 years ago. You land and you're like, oh my God, that energy.
Yeah.
And I think the only place I had the same feeling was actually when I landed in Dubai, and it was COVID.
Good.
So it was already not the best time, let's be honest. But I really understand what you're saying in terms of this excitement, growth, dream big, you can do it. And I think that's probably what we in the Western world, we're missing now. A bit of this, excitement. People play a lot of defense because life has gotten a bit more difficult than they used to. And I think that's really the appeal for many people, is this idea of being able to again play offense, again be excited, again be positive. And I think you really explained that, which I think we need to understand when we go there. It's not to escape, it's to go to something 100%. More exciting.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Really good point. Because I feel that the people that escape, yes, of course, they'll come through and they'll sort of meander through this geography. But I feel like the people that want to contribute and want to build and want to be on that journey together, they're the ones that will really succeed. In my humble opinion.
No, but I've seen the same here with French coming, and they're like, oh, it's not like French. Well, of course, because it's not. So I understand what you mean. Well, thank you so much, Oscar. Enjoy the holidays. I know it's gonna about the vacation. It's gonna come. It's a big exodus usually during the summer.
Absolutely right. And, thank you, Peggy. If you're ever here, please let me know. I'd love to happily invite you for a coffee or something colder when you're here. All right.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be there in the fall, so that's an opportunity.
Good.
But thank you so much, Oscar, and have a wonderful time. Bye. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye.